Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Matthew Williams, and I'm one of 3 investigators with the Tice Fire and Rescue District here in Lee County. I have been with the department for the past 22 years, during which time I have worked with the Combat Division along with the Fire Investigation Division. I am currently serving as the lead investigator for my department on County C shift. I appreciate Your Honor taking the time to listen to my case to allow for the approval of evidence obtained from the structure fire at 614 May Street on the afternoon of January 30th for the prosecution of the homeowner at 614 May Street for second-degree arson. Your Honor, first let me say that we here at the Tice Fire Department understand that our residents are protected from an unreasonable search and seizure, which is outlined in the 4th Amendment of the United States Constitution. It's in Articles 1 and 17. But as you are aware, Your Honor, they also are allowing for warrantless entry for the cause and origin when exigent circumstances exist. Over the next few minutes, I hope to prove to you that this was in fact a legal search of the property based on the circumstances found. On January 30th, at 13:17 hours, a 1-alarm fire came in at 614 May Street. At that time, 2 engines, 1 truck, 1 rescue, and 1 battalion responded. The first arriving unit reported dense black smoke showing from the eaves of the roof and the roof vents of the structure. At that time, a pre-connect line was pulled to the Alpha Delta side of the structure, where crews forced entry into the home. The attack crews reported heavy black smoke inside the home with 0 visibility. Upon locating the fire, it was found in the living room area of the structure, or in the area around the television, per the attack crews in the report. Crews reported minor smoke in the rest of the house. While teams were making entry to perform search and rescue efforts, they were canceled by command due to the family had arrived back at the house and informed command that the house was indeed empty and that everyone was accounted for that lived there. At that time, crews were reestablished into different groups. Once overhaul was completed, the crews were busy packing up the unit and placing it back into service. Also during this time, the officer on scene was completing required paperwork and following the department's SOP regarding contacting the on-call investigator and holding the scene until the arrival of the investigator, in addition to other support services, such as your Red Cross. Your Honor, it was during this time that a second structure was dispatched, coming in just 3 blocks from the location of the fire that this crew was on. The fire was reported to have multiple children trapped inside. The lieutenant on scene of this previous fire had to make a choice to hold the scene or respond to the call. The fact is the lieutenant chose to have his unit respond to the call for the report of help due to the children being trapped in the structure. This officer made the best call that he could have made at that time. It is due to his quick thinking and his crew's actions that the fire was put out and the children were safe. Shortly after the officer and the crew had left the scene, I arrived at the house. Parking my vehicle, I noticed that there was no one at the house. No law enforcement, no fire, and the homeowner was not there as well. The officer on scene had reported that he had left earlier and had not returned. After parking my vehicle, I gathered my equipment to conduct my origin and cause investigation, as I use NFPA 921 for my reference and methodology when I do my investigations. I will start my photos from the outside of the structure and work my way into the structure in a clockwise pattern. As I worked my way into the structure, I began noticing that personal items seemed to be missing, along with furniture seeming old and out of place. Per the report I had received from the crew, the TV area was the possible origin location. As I approached the TV, I noticed that it was out of place as well. I noticed that the TV did not seem to be able to work due to the cord was missing and the back of the television was broken. The crew's report to me noted that no damage was caused to the television from them. Now, based on my 22 years of experience, this made me suspicious of this and what could be possibly an arson fire. As I examined the area around the television, I noticed signs of a device behind the TV that could have been used in starting the fire, along with a pour pattern from the living room leading to the kitchen area. I photographed everything and took samples from inside the pour pattern and the outside edges of the pour pattern, along with a random sample from another area for comparison. Your Honor, if you would please look at these 3 photos that I have brought with me today. The first photo I'll show you is the living room area, and it shows the damage to the older furniture that you can see as you're approaching it. The television's over here in the corner, and just kind of older furniture that seemed out of place for this day and age. The next picture I'm going to show you shows the origin, in which I believe was what was used to start the fire behind the television. You can see here in this photo with my marker 1 that these are the items in which I believe were used to start the fire behind the television. The third photo I'd like to show you is the pour pattern. This pour pattern leads from the living room and into the kitchen area. This is the pour pattern in which I also pulled my samples from. Following my investigation, law enforcement officers arrived back at the scene. I spoke with the officer and informed him that I would be pursuing arson charges toward the family based on the evidence collected at this location. The purpose of this, as a firefighter, I lack the arresting powers of law enforcement and must involve them at this point. While the law enforcement officer and I were on scene finishing our documentation, the homeowner arrived back with his lawyer. The lawyer advised me that all evidence found on the scene would need to be suppressed due to the break of chain of custody, and that we did not have a search warrant to be in the house due to the engine crew having left the scene that forfeited our hold over the scene. I'm asking Your Honor today to reference the case Christian Reed Smith versus the state. This is a case where the chief officer also made entry into the structure after the last personnel left the scene. This case, like mine, showed extenuating circumstances and that their search, like mine, was a legal search. My hope, Your Honor, is that you see the similarities between the 2 cases and that the circumstances are clearly shown in both cases that evidence provided showed the need for search of the origin in the case. Our request to you today is that you allow for all evidence collected in this case to be used for trial in an arson case against the homeowner. I thank you for your time, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.